Welcome, everyone, to a brand new video. It's me, your host, Rob, and today I found this really cool horror story channel called Meet My Story. Let me see, I want to find one to react to it. See, I've already seen a few videos on this. I live in a town with no water. There's a crow chasing me. Which one of these do you want to see me react to? Let me know in the comments right now. Hold on, I'll be back when I find one. Okay, so I found one. It's called I Have the Rarest Illness in the World, Morphia.
Hello everyone, my name is Scarlett, and I suffer from the rarest disease in the world, morphia. And I can say with confidence that I am unique. Yes, damn it, I am unique. But I cannot wish such type of uniqueness even to my worst enemy. I was an ordinary, healthy child. My parents were proud of me and made big plans for my life. That's because I achieved significant success in gymnastics, and many people predicted a great future in sports for me. But everything was changed after one event. That event made me reassess everything around. On that day, after gymnastics training, I ran to the locker room and crashed against the door jamb with my forehead at maximum speed. Oh, it hurt. I even saw stars around my head. Well, it happens to everyone. It'll be okay, the coach told me, and I went home. On the next day, I woke up with a huge bruise all over my forehead. My parents and I still thought that there was nothing to worry about. After all, the blow was strong enough and the bruise is a logical result of it. But in the next 2 days, the bruise continued to grow and began to hurt very much, so we decided to go to the hospital. Well, doctors just said that I had a usual hematoma and everything would be okay soon. They prescribed me some ointments and sent me home. On the same day, my bruise was getting bigger and changing color. It became bluer and hurt so much that it was difficult to describe. I even had to take painkillers. Also, while my parents and I were looking for answers to our questions, I managed to get 2 more bruises, and they began to hurt very much as well, just like the first one. And this was despite the fact that I didn't really hit hard this time. In the coming weeks and even months, there were no improvements, so my parents and I had to visit about 60 doctors before one of them said that I had a very rare symptom of burning skin, which was a sign of an equally rare morphia disease. And the main problem is that the bruises on my body do not disappear at all. They never do. Just special and quite unpleasant drugs are able to keep their growth under control, and the only thing that really helped me was avoiding getting hit. But how are you supposed to do that? At that time, I was still small and didn't really understand why my mother was crying and why.
You know, now that I think about it, it's really hard to get hit. I mean, sometimes I just trip while walking over nothing, except the floor.
Why I needed a whole bunch of medicines that the doctor prescribed before letting me go home. I started taking this huge pile of pills and began to vomit frequently. I got tired very quickly, even when I moved from the bedroom to the bathroom, and I also began catching sicknesses quite often. But the most terrible thing was that when I was talking to people, some voice began to be heard in my mind. It was speaking kind of at the same time with those who I was communicating with. It drove me crazy and really irritated me because at such moments, it was impossible to understand what they were saying to me as that voice was sounding louder and interrupted the other sounds. I got depressed and became absolutely unbearable. I understood that living with such a person under the same roof was very difficult, and I bowed to my parents because they managed to put up with me all this time and never vented their anger on me. But I guess they were taking it out on each other because during that time they began to fight really often. At such moments, that voice in my head was especially loud. It was real madness, and after a couple of minutes, I would start to scream myself. Soon my parents divorced, and I stayed with my mother. To be honest,
Oh,
I still blame
no.
myself for
Oh,
ruining our
no,
family.
no, you can't do
Then I
me like
noticed that my
this.
hair began to fall out, and I felt really weak. Doctors did not know what to do with me. They even suggested that I might have cancer. Fortunately, nothing of the kind was identified. I was
Oh,
told that I would never be
that's
able to
good.
return to school, but one day
Still
I
got
still
morphia,
decided to do
but
it. It became terribly boring for me to stay at home, so I had to choose the lesser of two evils, as it seemed to me.
but
As
it's
soon as I
not
entered
lesser
school, the first
evil.
classmate that I met was Oscar. He threw something like a stick towards me and said, "Catch." This something was the teacher's pointer, which hit my arm. I was hit so hard that my arm started bleeding.
Wait, your teacher doesn't have a laser pointer? Just a wood pointer? Come on.
I was shocked and did not even understand right away what happened. I was immediately taken to the hospital where I got nearly 20 stitches and my arm was put in a cast.
20?
It really hurt, and at some point
I
I
have never
even
even
fainted.
had one stitch.
When I came to my senses, I was informed that my classmate was waiting outside the door. I invited him in, and it turned out to be Oscar who had thrown the pointer at my arm. He began to apologize and try to explain, but I could not understand a single word because that voice in my head was speaking faster and louder than Oscar. In short, on that day, he just got in and then got out because our dialogue was not meant to take place. My dad and his new wife took me home from the hospital. It was clear that she didn't really like me, and for some reason, right next to her, that parallel voice in my mind was talking especially often and was kind of more
Why so
insistent,
many
if you can
ads?
call
YouTube
it that.
has too many ads.
Sometimes she pretended that she was taking care of me and would say some pleasant things, but at these moments, that voice literally deafened me, so I had to ask her to stop talking. Because of these stresses, I began to lose even more hair. As a result, I
So
got a
did the
big bald
voice
spot on
have
my
anything to
head.
do with
It looked very creepy,
morphia?
and this really affected my self-esteem. I decided to return to school again so as not to go crazy at home, especially next to my stepmother. After seeing my bald head, my classmates began to laugh at me and call me a pinhead. Only Kenton has always supported me, and his voice never echoed in my head. This was weird and surprising because I could talk calmly only to him, and this communication became especially valuable to me. Then I realized that the parallel voice that sounded in my mind reflected the thoughts of people. So when
What?
someone is saying not what he or she really thinks, that is, when someone is lying, I can hear his or her real thoughts at the same time.
Wait, is this a symptom of morphia? Because it seems like something good came out of that. Where do where do I get morphia? Can, is it? I don't think you can touch me and it become and I get it because it's so rare. I don't know how you get it. I don't know how she got it in the first place, but that's something I would really like.
Well, when I realized
Leave a
this,
like
a
if you
lot of things
agree.
became clear, and the final piece of the puzzle was found. As it turned out, the main problem of my life, my illness, rewarded me with the superpower of reading people's minds. Rather, I was reading the mind of the liars surrounding me. And, I decided to use this gift as a litmus test, namely to clear my environment. I came to the classroom, and when dealing with some of my classmates, I immediately understood their real attitude towards me. For example, Susie was always complimenting me and smiling at me and tried to help me with my studies. But next to her, the voice never kept silent. I found it really weird and decided to ask Susie directly why she was lying to me. Of course, I was afraid to hurt her, but I wanted to make
I'm
the
search this
situation
up later.
clear. And then Susie told me, "I'm sorry, Scarlett, I just wanted to make you happier.
Oh,
In fact, I just feel sorry for you." So, in the end, there were only a few people left next to me, but I was totally sure of their sincerity and good intentions towards me. I do not expect any dirty tricks or betrayal from them, but I still have not decided how to treat strangers. The thing is that because of my bruise on the forehead, which never disappeared, everyone considers it necessary to ask who hit me and what happened. Once, a woman on the street even wanted to call the police so that they would deal with my situation. I hate this stigma on my forehead.
why not just brush your hair over it? So that people will quit asking. I mean, that's probably not the best advice I could give, but I mean, but I think at the moment, maybe it would be.
Recently, someone in our school was throwing eggs at a chemistry classroom.
Eggs?
It started stinking terribly, and the walls were damaged so much that it was impossible to clean them. The repair and painting would cost a lot, and it would be logical for the one who did it to pay for it. But how could they find that person among hundreds of students? So then I decided to help my school using my superpower. I began to communicate with almost everyone about the situation in the chemistry room. On the second day, I managed to figure out who the troublemaker was. It turned out to be Oscar again. While I was talking with him about what had happened the day before, the voices in my head were screaming as if they were going crazy, and it even seemed to me that they would never shut up. It was scary, but most importantly, I realized that it was Oscar who had thrown the eggs in the classroom. He was expelled from school, and his parents were obliged to pay money to repair the classroom.
Ooh, that's a lot of dollars.
After that incident, many people started treating me much better than before, although I know that most of them have selfish intentions. Today, there are about 20 bruises on my body, and they do not go away. The most terrible and problematic ones are on my forehead, and there is still a bald spot shining on my head. Now I am being given painful injections of my own fat in my head to stop hair loss, but so far I have not noticed any effect at all. Most likely next year I will get a hair transplant, but for now these are really distant plans. Doctors say that one day morphia can disappear from my life as unexpectedly as it emerged. That would be the best gift of fate for me. After all, I also want to love and be loved. I want to admire my reflection in the mirror and not be afraid to get another bruise.
I hope you all enjoyed this video. Leave a like or a dislike. I'm not that kind of YouTuber who asks for a like. You do whatever you want, and I'll see you all in the next one.